Alrighty, YouTube, welcome back to another YouTube video today. Today we're going to be reacting to horror movie fates where you'd beg more for death. Low key, I can't lie, this already seems like a banger, chat. Alright, let's get into it. Bing bang boom boom.
You want to know what's worse than dying? Well, how about the human centipede?
I never watched the movie, chat. I may sound like I'm LARPing, but I've seen so many clips on it, chat. And there's this joke going around being like, oh, would you rather be the front, back, or middle? I would rather not be in it. That's like, what's another good horror movie where you, The Shining probably, you probably wouldn't. It's a good fit. Terrifier is probably up there. The Nun. Well, I think the survival rate of The Nun's pretty high. Exorcist, Insidious.
Where it ends with the final girl still alive, sewn between two corpses, mouth surgically attached to butt, the other one attached to her. Knees destroyed too so that she can only crawl. She can't scream because her mouth is full of other things. She can't escape because she's stitched to dead weight that used to be her friends. That movie ends and the nightmare just keeps going. Most horror movies kill you, and that's it. But some filmmakers looked at death and thought, no, that's too easy. What if instead of dying...
We got, chat, they got the director for The Odyssey. Christopher Nolan is apparently, he's officially going to be directing a horror movie, bro.
And you just stay in whatever ruined state they left you in. Buried alive in a box underground, body surgically converted into walrus, trapped in a building that rewrites reality so the exit doors stop existing. These are horror movie fates that are worse than death, and exactly how they would feel like if you had to go through them. We're putting you, yes you, in each one to see exactly how long you would last. And spoiler alert, not long.
No, chat. My survival instincts are low-key higher than average though. They surpass. Like, here's you got average and you got me. You know what I mean? I like far survive it. You know what I mean? Well, actually no, you gotta bring it down because male survival instincts are a bit iffy. We'll look at a danger and be like, oh, let's give it a hug, or like a fist bump.
Podcaster, which already tells you his decision-making skills are questionable. I mean, what type of career is that? And in 2014, he flies to Canada to interview a guy he found on the internet who claims to have stories about a walrus. This man is not a marine biologist. He's just some really old dude with feelings about walruses, if you catch my drift. Wallace drives hours into the middle of nowhere, which is like Canada anywhere. It's horrible up here. I hate it up.
What? No, Toronto's pretty good. Ottawa's pretty good. PEI's pretty good. Vancouver's probably really good. London, Ontario's pretty good. Windsor's, it's
here. Literally, it's so damn cold. He literally just...
I don't know where in Canada you're from, buddy, but where I am, it's highs of 40 right now in the summer. So, well, yeah, winters can get pretty cold, but like the past few winters haven't been that cold.
Does it because content is content. The old man drugs
exactly. Game is a game, Chad. Game is
tea within the first 10 minutes, and Wallace wakes up with one leg already amputated because the interview is now a surgery. Over the next few days, this lunatic removes Wallace's other leg, cuts the bones down, and reshapes them into tusks, sews his arms to his sides so they work as flippers, cut out his tongue, and stitches him into a full bodysuit made out of human skin. So he looks and moves like a walrus. Wallace, the walrus. Who could have saw that coming? He is also awake for a lot of this, and the only sound he can make are whatever noises a broken walrus could make, which the film accurately portrays as deeply unsettling. Here's the part that makes it...
Can we hear it, though? Can we hear it? No. Can we hear it?
Worse than death, though. Wallace gets rescued. His friends find him. The cops show up. The bad guy dies, and Wallace survives. But there's no fixing what was done. His legs are gone. His arms don't work. His tongue is gone. His body is too destroyed to reconstruct into anything human. So they put him in an animal sanctuary, and he just lives there now as a walrus. His girlfriend visits and feeds him fish because she still loves him, which sounds sweet until you remember Wallace is a human man who is mentally intact and forced to exist permanently as a fish-eating floor creature in a zoo. You wouldn't last because the moment you realize that you're staying in that body, you would probably start trying to drown yourself in the shallow pool, and somebody would just pull you out and give you another fish for being a good little walrus. At least Wallace's nightmare happened kind of on accident. They were just trying to help him out after, making the best out of a worst case scenario. But the next case we're going to talk about was designed on purpose by a surgeon who sat down, planned the whole thing out, and still thought this was a good idea. And this movie traumatized me when I was 14 when I first heard about it, because of course you gotta watch this movie if you're 14. You're like, that sounds stupid and creepy and weird. Of course I'm gonna watch it. Two American tourists get a flat tire in Germany, which is already the setup to a problem you can see coming. And they knock on the door of the nearest house to ask for help. It's a retired surgeon answers, offers them water, drugs the water, and when they wake up, they're strapped to medical tables.
They got Ruthie. Damn.
Next to some guy who's also strapped to a table, which means that this is not the first time this doctor has done this. The surgeon explains his
Wait, is that the actor from the Saw? Not the Saw. Wait, no, yeah, from Saw. Isn't the actor from Saw, chat?
And very calmly, very professionally, he's gonna create a human centipede by surgically connecting mouth to.
Bro, this is actually so nasty. Bro, I can't even watch. If I watch this, I'd actually throw up, chat. Like, it's actually so nasty. Nah, because, chat, imagine being the middle one.
But in a chain.
Does he remove the tongue? Because if he doesn't,
Lindsay, one of the tourists, gets assigned to the middle position, which the surgeon specifies is the worst because you'll be attached on both ends. He cuts the ligaments in her knees then, so she can only crawl, and stitches her mouth to her friend's body and stitches the guy behind her to hers. And from that point on, Lindsay is physically connected to two other people in the most degrading way a doctor could think of, and the most nastiest thing ever. Because let's not even talk about the infection risk, because it would kill you in days. But that's not even the worst part. By the end of the movie, the person in
and E. coli too.
Front of Lindsay ends his own life, and the person behind her dies from blood poisoning, because let's just say they ain't getting the Arby's 2-for-1 deal. They're getting something else. But Lindsay is still alive. She is sewn between two dead bodies and can't move because she's stitched to the corpses. She can't scream because her mouth is connected to one of them. And the movie just ends pretty much they're sobbing in silence until she kind of rips out. The real part is like stuck between two dead people. Yeah, you probably wouldn't last.
Bro, ripping yourself apart would have to hurt so much.
Because the moment you understood that you were in that position, your brain would just shut off. Some situations break people faster than bodies can fail, and being trapped as the middle segment of a dead centipede is one of them. What makes this movie even worse is that I've definitely watched this movie more than once on a first date before. We're never got a second date. I wonder why. But even worse than that, I have to mention this out every.
No. There's something wrong with you, bro. Why would you watch this on a first date? Damn.
This is what I'm talking about. This movie is the infamous Chupacabro goth mommy incident of 1997. Pretty much I made a video talking about this movie one time, and one of the comments was a guy saying he wouldn't mind being the middle as long as a goth mommy was in front of him.
That's true.
Yeah, that video went viral too, and I pinned his comment out of shame. I hope your mom sees that, buddy. Now, look at this. I'm just gonna invite everybody to comment the most deranged things possible. I know it. So those first two were about slow destruction over days, but some horror movies don't bother with slow. They just break your entire body in under 3 minutes and leave you alive to experience what happens after every bone.
Oh my god. The bedroom scene in Terrifier 2, bro. Yo, that's actually messed up, bro. I would hate to be the girl. Oh.
Naps. Olga is a dancer at a prestigious academy in Berlin, and one day she decides she wants to quit because the vibes are off and she's getting a weird feeling about the teachers, which is the correct instinct because the teachers are witches. That's right, not bitches, but witches. She tries to leave during a rehearsal, walks into the studio to grab her stuff, and that's when the witches decide to make an example out of her using another dancer as a psychic remote control.
What?
One of the students starts rehearsing a routine in a different room, and every movement she makes gets transferred onto Olga's body, but wrong. When the dancer jumps, Olga's bones twist. When the dancer spins, Olga's spine bends backwards. Her ribs crack outward. Her legs fold in directions they don't fold. Her jaw gets smashed into the mirror, and within 2 minutes, Olga goes from a healthy person to a pile of broken parts that used to be a person. She is still conscious, still breathing, just completely shattered and lying in her own fluids. While the witches stare at her and decide she's not worth killing yet. They drag her out of the room with meat hooks and store her in the basement with 2 other people who also got broken and kept alive. Olga stays down there for weeks, maybe longer, unable to move except for small twitches.
Wait, weeks? Doesn't she have to eat and drink though?
She's in constant pain, begging anyone who passes by to finish her off. At the end of the movie, a demon shows up and grants her request for death, which she's been asking for the entire film. Because even supernatural evil looked at her situation and agreed that it was a bit.
Nah, you know you're in a bad pickle if a demon looks and he's like, damn, that's messed up. You know what I mean? Like, bro, I guarantee you that demon looked and it was like, what a wonderful new torture device to add to in hell.
Much. You would not last because pain tolerance doesn't scale. You either pass out or go insane. And Olga didn't get either option. She had to stay awake and feel everything until someone who is evil in their own way finally decided to show her mercy. Let's now move on to a little film where a college film student decides to make a documentary about fear, which sounds fine a little bit.
Wait, I think I've seen this one.
Classmate
Not seen it, but like,
some pretty specific ideas about what fear actually means and how far you should take a student project. The documentary starts normal enough, just interviewing people about their worst nightmares, childhood trauma, things that keep them up at night. And one student named Cheryl talks about her dad forcing her to visit slaughterhouses when she was little, how it made her terrified of meat, and she became a vegan because of it and hasn't touched meat since. Quaid listens to this, nods along, takes notes, and then later kidnaps Cheryl and locks her in a concrete room with one raw steak and a camera. He tells her the door stays locked until she either eats the meat or dies, whichever comes first. And then he just leaves and waits. This is not quick torture. It's a slow one because Cheryl's in there for days getting hungry while the steak rots and grows maggots and starts to smell like whatever death smells like when it's been sitting under a heat lamp in a locked room. She holds out as long as she can, maybe a week, but eventually your body stops asking permission from your brain and she eats it, gagging the whole time, crying, completely broken. You might be thinking right now, Mr. Chupacabro, it's literally just a steak.
Nah, you know what's crazy though? Chat, no matter how bad it tastes, you probably ended up getting a craving for it.
To get over her fear and eat it. Well, I would agree with you, up until Quaid opens the door, says congrats, and tosses in the corpse of another student with a knife. He then tells her to see how hungry she needs to be before she eats that too, then locks her back in. The film doesn't really confirm whether she does it, but it also doesn't need to because we understand the point. Death would have been immediate. This is just endless degradation until your identity doesn't really exist anymore. And you're not gonna last because your brain would choose starvation after day 3. But your body would override the decision and you'd hate yourself either way, and you would probably be broken forever. Could you actually eat a human being if you had to and live with that guilt? I don't know, and I hope nobody has to, but that's kind of the point of the video. Let's now move on to a faster transformation. And instead of being locked in a room until you break, imagine getting physically ruined in one night and then spending the next several years watching yourself turn into the thing that ruined you. The toy is out on Halloween with friends when they meet Art the Clown.
Bro! Oh my god, chat. Yo, Art is so messed up, bro. Nah, like, he's also a demon too, so.
who's just a friendly guy in a mime
Yeah,
costume
exactly.
standing on the street.
No. Art's just a friendly guy, bro. He just wants to like play cards, poker, bro. He just wants to play blackjack, bro. Like, sit down and talk with him.
And because horror movies require people to ignore every instinct they have, they don't immediately cross the other side of the road. I mean, they kind of get away from him, but they kind of like fuck around with him first, and that's not the good idea. Don't do that.
No. Nah, if you're gonna do anything with Art, bro, do not tease him or fuck around with him, bro. Do not bully him or anything.
Do not go and be friends with Creepy Clown. Creepy Clown bad. Art then follows them and then attacks.
Nah, but like if you saw Art midday, you probably wouldn't think he's creepy, right? But at night, it's just a color scheme. You know what I mean? Like, bro.
And Victoria escapes. She's missing an eye and most of her face because Art decided to chew on it before the police showed up. That is just a brief summary of what happens in that movie, but it's really not.
Yeah. Oh my god, this was Terrifier 1, right? And then you know what happened? I think it was one of the girls. She pulls out a gun, bro, from her, like it was like a sock or something, and just up and pulls on Art, bro. Crazy.
Because the broader themes of the video is basically, we're talking about Victoria. Anyways, 1 year later, she's on a talk show trying to talk about survival.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure Art just goes back and slimes her out.
And trauma, which already seems like a bad idea. And in the middle of the interview, she snaps and gouges out the host.
Oh, right. No. Sorry, Art doesn't. She does. And, oh yeah. And then she gives birth to Art's kid. No, it's not Art's kid. Art himself. Because Art dies. And then she gives birth to him. It's so weird.
Eyes on live television while laughing. Trauma didn't just scar her face, it rewired her brain completely, and that sweet college student who existed before that Halloween night is just gone now. Replaced by someone who murders people on daytime TV. But it gets worse, because in the sequel we find out Victoria's in a psychiatric hospital, and something demonic that follows Art around decides to use her body as a host. She then ends up possessed, writing in blood all over the walls, and then she gives birth to Art the Clown's severed living head, which is a sentence I didn't think I'd have to say out loud, but here we are. By the third movie, she's working with Art fully on. They're kind of like a couple.
Third? Oh yeah, the Christmas one. I haven't seen it yet.
Now she does something with a glass shard. Just put it that way. Victoria's fate is worse than death because the person she was doesn't even exist anymore. She survived the attack, but everything that made her Victoria died that night anyway. It was walking around now is just a damaged version that got hijacked by evil. You wouldn't last because the first time you looked in a mirror and didn't recognize yourself, you'd understand that surviving isn't always the same as living. At least Victoria's nightmare though happened in—
Wait, are they gonna talk about the bedroom scene, bro? Or are they just talking about like a linear, like, suffering throughout movie to movie?
One timeline, because our next case is someone who spent years getting tortured in different ways by the same enemy. Every time she survived, it just got worse. Miss Pierce has the worst luck in horror movie history, and it starts before she's even born. Because Chucky kills her father and stabs her pregnant mother, which causes Pierce to be born paralyzed from the waist down. Fast forward 25 years, and Chucky tracks her down again, murders her entire family, frames her for it, and she gets sent to a psychiatric hospital for crimes a doll committed, which is already a pretty bad situation. Then it gets layered. Chucky uses voodoo to possess her body, so Pierce is fully aware and trapped inside her own head, while Chucky pilots her around, killing people with her hands. She can't do anything except watch. This goes on for years, just intermittent periods of Chucky taking over and using her body as a murder vehicle while she's screaming internally with no control over her arms or legs or voice. Eventually, Chucky's longtime girlfriend, Tiffany, decides—
Brother, what? Chucky can pull? Damn. I didn't know Chucky got game.
That she wants to keep Pierce around, but stop Chucky from possessing her. And her solution to this problem is to drug Pierce and surgically remove all 4 of her limbs while she's unconscious. Pierce wakes up and realizes her arms and legs are gone, and she's completely dependent on Tiffany for everything. And the possession still happens anyway, so the whole thing was pointless, except now she's a quadruple amputee trapped with a serial killer doll and his weird girlfriend. This is years of the most worst horror you can think of. Already paralyzed, then framed, then institutionalized, then possessed, and then dismembered, and through all of it, Miss Pierce stays conscious and aware and filled with rage that has nowhere to go.
At that point, if I was Miss Pierce, I'd low-key end myself. No, because like Chucky really took advantage of her being a paralyzed person, whatever, and just started going haywire. Like, bro, instead of taking on a full-grown man, bro, Chucky's looking like just a coward, bro.
She physically cannot do anything. We ain't last this because hope is a thing that requires a future. And Pierce's situation makes it pretty clear there isn't going to be one. At a certain point, your brain just stops trying to fix problems it knows can't be fixed, like my dating life. And being a limbless possession target with no rescue coming is that point. Let's move on though. 3 years is a long time to spend looking for somebody, but that's how long Rex searches for his girlfriend Saskia after she disappears from a gas station in broad daylight with witnesses around and nobody sees anything useful. He plasters missing person posters everywhere, does media interviews, basically makes finding her his entire personality. And then one day, the guy who took her just walks up and introduces himself. His name is Raymond. He's a chemistry teacher with a wife and kids. And he tells Rex he'll explain exactly what happened to Saskia if Rex agrees to experience the same thing she did.
What?
This is clearly a bad offer. Raymond's essentially saying, drink this poison and find out if you die. And Rex knows this. You can see him thinking about it, weighing whether satisfying his curiosity is worth whatever is about to happen. And then he drinks the coffee anyway, because 3 years of obsession doesn't lead to good choices. Rex wakes up in darkness inside a wooden coffin buried underground. And that's where the movie ends. He's 6 feet under the dirt. No one knows where he is. Raymond's already home with his family acting normal, and Rex gets to spend his final hours understanding exactly what Saskia went through before she suffocated in the same kind of box. The film's last shot is Rex screaming in the coffin while we see a newspaper at Raymond's house listing both of them as missing persons, which means no rescue is coming because no one's even looking in the right country. Being buried alive is a specific kind of nightmare that doesn't really need much explanation. It's dark, you can't move, it probably smells. If you fart in the box, you're gonna have that sticking out the place the entire time. The air is running out, and every second...
No, farting in the box would be so bad if you're lactose intolerant too, Chad, and you just ate some cheese. Oh.
Your brain is just screaming at you to escape while your hands scrape uselessly at wood. You wouldn't last this because panic uses oxygen faster than calm does, and you'd burn your way through your air supply trying to claw your way out of a box that's surrounded by dirt that weighs more than a car. Smart thinking there, buddy. Ultimately, Rex chose his nightmare because he needed the answers. But sometimes the worst fates are the ones you create trying to do the right thing. But the person you're trying to save is the person you end up destroying. And you have to live with that. A thick mist rolls into town carrying creatures that kill everything they touch. And after being at a grocery store with a bunch of crazy people for a while, find safety. He's listening to people die on the radio. He's watched monsters pull apart anyone who goes outside. But eventually, they run out of gas in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, right. Oh, my God, Chet, the mist. The mist. Brother. Brother. No, it's crazy what happens at the end. If you've already watched it, bro, you know. If you know, you know.
With things circling the car, and David has to make a calculation. He has 5 people in the vehicle and 4 bullets in the gun, and he decides that dying fast is better than getting torn apart slowly.
Yeah, he shoots his own son, chat.
By whatever's in the fog. And normally, he would be right. So he shoots his own son first, point blank, and then the other 3 adults. And he's holding the empty gun when the mist starts to clear and the military rolls through with flamethrowers killing the creatures. rescue he was waiting for arrives maybe 90 seconds after he murders his own child.
Yeah,
David realizes if that he just waited 2 more minutes, everyone in the car would have been fine. The film ends on his face as he screams, surrounded by soldiers and survivors who have no idea what he's just done. That's it. There's no resolution, no forgiveness. Just a man.
Nah, you know what I would have done if I was him and I did this? I would have been like, I would have come to terms with it. I would have been like, you know what? There was nothing I could have done. I had no idea if there was like a rescue coming for me. You know what I mean? So
to wake up every single day knowing that he killed his son for literally no reason. This is a type of psychological destruction on a level that does not heal. David doesn't get injured. He doesn't get tortured. He doesn't lose a limb. He just has to exist with the knowledge that he made the worst possible choice at the worst possible time, and there is no taking that back. You wouldn't last because guilt like that does not fade. It sits in your chest and grows, and eventually you would realize that surviving was the actual punishment and dying with them would have been the mercy you always wanted. David's hell was mental. He'll be stuck in his own head with a memory he'll never be able to escape. What if the building itself wouldn't let you leave and reality stopped working the way it's supposed to? A reality TV crew decides to film a ghost hunting episode inside an abandoned psychiatric hospital, which is already a decision that shows poor planning, and they lock themselves inside overnight to prove how brave they are. For the first hour, it's just them wandering around with night vision cameras making jokes about spooky noises. Standard ghost show stuff. But then they try to leave and the front door doesn't open to the outside anymore. It opens to another hallway. Every exit they find leads deeper into the building instead of out of it. The hospital's layout starts changing. Hallways stretch longer than they should. Stairwells loop back on themselves. And time stops making sense because their watches say it's morning, but it's still dark outside and their food rots in minutes. They're trapped inside a building that's rewriting physics to keep them there, and the ghosts of former patients and doctors start showing up to make sure they don't get too comfortable. The crew gets picked off one at a time by things that pull them into elevator shafts or stab them in the dark. And the last guy, Lance, spends weeks wandering alone through infinite corridors, eating rats and losing his mind. The footage shows him getting skinnier and more incoherent until he's just babbling at the camera about nothing. And then the hospital's ghost doctor finally finishes the job by lobotomizing him. Lance survives the procedure. He just doesn't survive as Lance.
Yo.
Last scene is him drooling in a wheelchair with dead eyes while spirits walk past him like he's a freaking cactus or a piece of furniture. The horror here is being trapped in a place where doors don't lead to exits, where walking forward just takes you in circles, where the entire ability decides that you're not leaving anytime soon, and then surviving through that for weeks, if not months, all to know that it was just for nothing. You wouldn't last because your brain needs logic to process these escape routes, and once you realize that the rules don't apply anymore, that's when the panic turns into something permanent, and it just sits there vibrating until you're not you anymore. Let's now move on. A field of tall grass should not be scary. It's just plants. But in this case, the grass sits on top of something that warps time and space and traps anyone who walk into it. A woman hears a kid crying for help from inside the field.
Damn, that mouse is gonna be swole as hell, chat.
And does the reasonable thing and goes in to find him. And within 5 minutes, she's completely lost because the grass shifts around her and paths stop leading where they should. Her brother follows her in, and then other people hear them calling for help, and they go in too. And now there's 6 people wandering around in circles, getting thirsty and sunburned while the grass plays games with their sense of direction. The real problem shows up when they find a black rock in the center.
What is that? Oh, I thought that was like a bear shark or something.
Everything, and one guy touches it and goes completely insane. He starts hunting the others through the grass, killing them in different ways, stabbing one, strangling another, and here's where it gets worse than just murder. Every time someone dies, time resets and the loop starts over with another version of them walking into the grass.
What?
Which means they don't die once and get it over with. They die hundreds of times in a cycle
Wait, what?
that doesn't end.
Wait. The guy who kills him, does he stay the same? Or does he get reset too?
Character figures out that they've been reliving the same deaths over and over, watching themselves get killed by the same person in the same field. The grass keeps resetting everything. There is no exit, no final death, just an endless repeat where you walk in, get lost, get murdered, and wake up outside the grass ready to do it again without remembering the last loot. The film shows rotting corpses of the same people scattered through the field from different timelines, and the victims have no idea they're looking at themselves. You're stuck in a nightmare where dying doesn't fix anything.
Damn.
It just sends you back to the start, which is not something Aunt me or you or anybody is going to be able to process and survive. That grass field runs on supernatural rules that we really don't understand. The next movie we're going to talk about runs on physics that we do understand, and somehow that makes it infinitely worse. The year is 2047, and a rescue crew gets sent to investigate a ship called the Event Horizon that disappeared 7 years ago and just reappeared near Neptune with no explanation of where it's been. Captain Miller and his team board the ship expecting to find wreckage or bodies, and what they find instead is a gravity drive that punched a hole through space-time directly into another dimension. That dimension is what most religions would call hell, or as I would call Georgia. The ship's original crew got pulled into this hell dimension when the drive activated, and the things that happened to them there are shown in brief flashes of recovered footage. Screaming, self-mutilation, people tearing each other apart in ways that suggest that they weren't human anymore by the time it was over. The ship itself came back possessed by whatever exists in that place. It starts attacking Miller's crew, showing them hallucinations of their worst fears, driving them insane one by one. And Miller realizes the only way to save anyone is to physically separate his crew from the gravity drive by blowing the ship in two. He manually sets the explosives, knowing that it'll trap him on the wrong side with the evil core of the ship. The last thing we see is Miller screaming as the drive pulls him backwards through the portal into the hell dimension while his surviving crew escapes. The movie confirms that this is not a metaphor. It's an actual place of infinite chaos and suffering that exists outside our universe, and Miller just got dragged into it for eternity. There's no time limit on his torture, no end date, just endless existence in a dimension designed to break your mind, body, and soul. Film asks, what's worse than death? And the answer it gives is being pulled into literal hell while fully conscious and staying there forever with no hope of escaping or your pain.
Man, I would never want to go there, man.
You're not surviving that. That's hell. You're not surviving hell. Sorry to break it to
Nah,
you.
low key though, me and Lucifer, we're day ones, bro. We go way back. You know what I mean? Like, we dab up, bro. Like, low key, I would survive.
Anyways, which of these horror movie fates do you think is the worst? Let me know down in the comments why. And let me know other horror movies you want me to cover in the future. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel and turn on the post notifications so you don't miss out on any
Actually, am I
videos.
survived?
And if you want to
Alright, I am, chat. You know what? I'll give him a like. That was a good video.
watch another one of my videos right now.
Alright, chat. Great video by Chupacabro. That was peak. Remember, like if you liked the video, comment your favorite part, and see you guys on the next one. Bye.